You don't feel fulfilled as a dietitian, but you're not sure where to start. I want you to know that you're not alone. In today's video, I'm going to break down how to start a dietitian side hustle. If you're wondering how can dietitians make extra money, the answer is there are lots of opportunities, and I want to break them down for you. One of them includes corporate wellness or providing any type of education or consultation speaking for corporations. Or you could do academic institutions. When I was a dietitian in private practice, I sold curriculum that I created and packaged for academic institutions. I taught lectures for dentists about nutritional science and for pediatric residents and for medical residents. I also led workshops, so I found lots of opportunities to make additional income and to do so through speaking and teaching. Now, if you want to offer something similar, but maybe not through an academic medium, you could look at corporations, corporate nutrition, and opportunities for wellness programs, and that might help you get your foot in the door. One of the reasons that I loved creating content for academic institutions is because I was able to leverage my time. So I got paid a pretty hefty sum to create and teach curriculum about nutritional science, and that meant that I wasn't trading time for money per se. I was teaching one-to-many. So that model meant that me, the teacher, the nutrition educator, got paid a sum of money per hour and for the effort that I put into building the curriculum, and that meant that it was a very smart way for me to make money. Teaching and speaking allows you as a dietitian to serve more people for one unit of time, versus if I were to do a bunch of private consultations back to back to back, which is one of the fastest ways to burnout. Now, if you charge a really high amount, that can help you make more use of your time and energy, but then a lot of dietitians feel like they're not being accessible and they don't have that accessible price point. Another way or avenue that you could pursue is offering multiple different offers. So you can have a lower priced offer for people that can't afford your more expensive coaching if you do want to go that one-on-one route. But keep in mind that every offer requires a sales funnel, and that means that you're going to have a strategy for how people purchase your offer, how you get feedback from your offer, how you improve your offer, and how you potentially upsell, meaning you have a client in one offer and you might sell them into another offer. So there's a lot of strategy and energy that goes into creating an offer. So keep in mind that if you want to have your business fairly simple, you're going to want to think about your strategy in terms of what offer are you creating, at what price point, and what value does that bring your clients. Another way that you can make money is hosting a webinar, and that's called a live event. Now, I am a huge fan of webinars. I've done them through Practice Better, Nutrition Entrepreneur, Dietitian Connection. I've even worked with other continuing education providers to be able to relay information about skill building and private practice and social media and online marketing for dietitians, and that's helped me not only earn extra money for presenting the webinar. Some of them would be paid, and some of them I do in my own business and try to support and promote people to purchase my products and services. So a live webinar is essentially an opportunity for you to do teaching and speaking, but make sure you're doing it on the internet. And it's a great way for you to build connections, possibly build relationships, build your brand reputation, get more comfortable and confident speaking, and really help more people. I started my business and very much built my audience from doing live webinars, and I still do them today. Even more recently, I partnered with All Access Dietetics, and we had a relationship together where I did a joint webinar Q&A with them. So this is not something I've stopped over the years. I continue to do live webinars in different ways. Now, do you like live webinars? Have you ever attended one or considered hosting a live webinar yourself? There's a couple ways to do it. You can host your own webinar, or you can do a joint webinar and you can hook up with somebody else, like what I did with Practice Better or like what I did with All Access Dietetics. You might be wondering, with all this talk of side hustles and making extra money, what dietitians actually make the most money? You might be wondering what dietitians get paid the most. You might not be surprised to learn that business owners have the highest earning potential, and that's cited from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. Managers also are able to earn a little bit higher. They have higher earning potential in the field of dietetics, but keep in mind that there aren't as many managerial positions available. If we're talking clinical nutrition, definitely not as many. And if we're talking food service, it can depend as well. It also depends on your skill sets and your interests and where you live. So those positions are not always open. I'd say the positions that are more readily open are those entry-level clinical positions that are not paid very well. You can also work multiple jobs, but as you might know, it's kind of exhausting. And working multiple jobs is what led me to start this business, because I wanted to bring my business of consulting on the internet, and I didn't really know how. And so I came about teaching my peers how to do what I had done in an in-person setting over the internet. And that's how I was able to take my practice virtual before COVID. You can also create an alternative revenue stream, and some of you will do this and never leave your job, whether it's per diem, part-time, or full-time. And creating an additional revenue stream could look like working with brand deals. It could look like creating a digital product like a course, an ebook. It could mean brand sponsorships. It could mean speaking and teaching. It could mean partnering up with another dietitian. There's so many opportunities with creating additional revenue. And it's going to depend on your interests and your values and what you align with, and maybe even what opportunities you see. But keep in mind that dietitian entrepreneurs who are side hustlers, we create opportunities. So as long as you're solving a problem, right? Maybe disease management, food freedom, sports performance, infant feeding. If you're really thinking about what nutritional problem you solve, the opportunities are endless. What I see when dietitians struggle is that they're not really solving a big problem. So you can really create any type of revenue and opportunity that you want as long as you're solving a big problem. And you do that by focusing on your message. And it's not enough to just create content on the internet. You have to actually talk to people every week within the demographic that you intend to serve and ask them genuinely, what are their problems and how can you better serve them? And you have to really put on your analytical hat, which naturally as dietitians we have, and comb through the data that you've analyzed to find out, are you solving the problem that they actually have? And have you done your investigative research to learn that they want and they'll pay for what you are offering in your business? And that, if you focus on that, you will have a faster time building your side hustle. And if you focus on that, you'll be able to create your side hustle quicker. If you're wondering how can a dietitian stand out, it would be by building your brand, building your credibility. And you can do that by talking to people within your demographic that you intend to serve. You can do that by building connections and networking with peers or people in similar industries, maybe therapists, speech language pathologists, doctors, functional medicine specialists, etc. So if you're spending a lot of time and effort developing your skill sets in your career, networking with other professionals, and taking time and energy to craft your trade by just sheer experience, you'll be in a better position than the dietitians who are too afraid to share their face and too afraid to post anything on the internet. So remember that when we get started, it's going to be sloppy and uncomfortable, but nobody's going to remember the first 100 posts that you put on the internet or the first things you said. What's going to matter is that you've been able to take time and energy to craft your message and learn what people want and provide value to people, specifically consumers that have nutritional needs that are unmet, and with your help, you can solve those needs. Another tip would be to keep up with the research, and that can build your confidence. Not only reading research studies, but taking a moment to look at the conclusion and really understand what the research is saying and cross-reference other research studies and perhaps talk to your peers about research. And in doing that, we're really sharpening our own tool set, because as dietitians, we are, instructed to think critically and apply that critical knowledge by learning how to communicate our nutrition messages. So the more time and energy that we're spending reading research studies and looking at dietary guidelines and cross-referencing, the more that we can build our confidence. So if you're looking to improve your mindset, in addition to building up with your entrepreneurial skill set by listening to my podcast and YouTube videos and joining my community called Rebellion in our membership, you can also take some time to read the studies. I remember when I had my private practice and I was also working a full-time clinical job, I would spend almost every day about an hour a day reading through research, highlighting it, saving it, cross-referencing it, and even finding people to talk about my research with. And it was something that I found interesting. And it's a great way for you to build your confidence. And if you're wondering, well, what do I post online and how do I build relationships and network with other people? A really easy way in with other clinicians is to tell them, hey, I read this study. What do you think? Or, hey, I'm really interested in this topic. Do you know anybody else in the functional space? Or do you know anybody else in the gut space? Do you know anybody else in, diabetes? Whatever it might be. that's a great way for you to start building connections. And it's a point that we all know about. We're all familiar with research. We all have read studies and done some form of analysis in some way or another. So it's a great entry point for you to make connections with peers, and even for you to then synthesize that information into bite-sized chunks and create posts on social media to at least get started when it comes to presenting yourself on the internet. Because if people don't know who you are, if consumers who might need help with nutritional outcomes are not familiar that you exist, it's going to be really hard to make an impact and then to sell to them. So you want to keep in mind that people have to know that you're alive, and people will only know that you exist as a registered dietitian or a student if you show up. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to watch my next video, check out the video on screen, and we'll see you next time.